Mahit Dzmare walks through her home station with two versions of a dead man arguing inside her skull. One of them is 15 years out of date. The other is sabotaged. Neither belongs there. When they disagree, and they disagree constantly, it feels like fizzing sparkles in her smallest fingers, a neuropathic burn that won't stop. She has 6 days before the government orders a neurological exam that will crack her open and find out what's wrong with her memory. 6 days before they discover she's carrying forbidden information in the implant at the base of her skull, and the only person offering her an escape route is a political operator who wants her to become a spy inside a war she barely understands. That is the opening pressure of A Desolation Called Peace, the Hugo Award-winning novel by Arkady-Martine. It is a sequel to a memory called Empire, but you can enter it cold through exactly this crisis. A woman whose damage is simultaneously a political liability, a diplomatic asset, and the only thing keeping her alive. Mahit is an ambassador who was supposed to represent her isolated space station to a vast interstellar empire. Instead, she came home broken, her memory implants sabotaged before she ever left, and now the faction that controls memory on her station wants to confirm the contamination. Another faction wants to use her. The empire she just fled wants her back because they've run into an alien enemy whose language no one can parse, and Mahit happens to be the best linguist available. She agrees to spy. She doesn't want to, but she's cornered. The man she makes the deal with has already used her predecessor the same way, sent him into the Empire as bait, hoping to draw it into a war it couldn't win. Mahit knows this because one of the dead men in her head remembers the letter where the plan was spelled out. She carries the evidence of her own manipulation inside her body. So, the book sets a sabotaged diplomat on a trajectory toward an alien frontier where the enemy doesn't recognize individual humans as persons and asks, when you're already broken, when you're already a tool, when you're already lying to everyone who trusts you, what do you do when you become the only person who might be able to make peace? That collision between first contact and intimate betrayal, between the alien and the deeply personal, is where the novel does its most distinctive work. The aliens communicate through resonant frequencies that make humans vomit. Their language has no pronouns, no tenses, no causality. They are a hive mind, and they do not understand why humans get upset when individual bodies stop moving. Meanwhile, Mahit is trying to figure out which version of Yeskander Aghavan she can trust, the young one or the old one, while hiding her spy mission from the Teixcalaan envoy who crossed the known universe to find her and who is falling in love with her. It is a book about the gap between what you can say and what you need to say, written by an author who knows exactly how much pressure a body can take before it has to choose. Episode 1. The Wait for the Wheel. 9 Hibiscus, newly promoted Yadalek of a fleet facing an unknown alien threat, watches her cartograph table from the bridge of Wait for the Wheel. The cartograph has cycled through its last week of recorded developments for a third time. Planets winked from distress red to out of communication black. One by one, no ships advanced into that silence. Nobody came back out. She switches the display off, leaving the strategy table a flat black expanse, dull matte, as impatient as its captain for new information. None is forthcoming. Behind her, 20 Cicada clears his throat. Her adjutant is a gaunt man with green fractal tattoos visible at his wrists, homeostat cult markings from the Neltok system, the kind of religious practice the Ministry of War classifies as a minor intelligence risk. She does not care what he believes. She cares that he has informants on every ship in her fleet, which is why she calls him Swarm, and why he appears at her elbow just when she least wants company. Fortit note. Excellent, he says. Then you won't mind if I borrow you for a moment, Yadalek? She does mind. She minds enormously. She has been waiting for her scout ship, Knife Point's 9th Blooming, to return from the alien front, and the silence is fraying her. But she turns to face him. 20 Cicada warns her that 3 fleet captains are about to formally challenge her authority. 16 Moonrise of the 24th Legion, countersigned by 40 Oxide of the 17th and 2 Canal of the 6th. A communique is imminent. They want action. They want to know why she is sitting here while planets go dark. 16 Moonrise, 9 Hibiscus has met her exactly once. Pale electrum coloring, the kind of woman who wears her military rank like a weapon. Her adjutant has already compiled intelligence. 16 Moonrise spent her first 5 fleet years as a political officer placed by the Third Palm, the military intelligence arm that answers to nothing but the Minister of War. She is not just a fleet captain. She carries other loyalties. 9 Hibiscus makes her decision. She will not give an order. She will issue an invitation. 16 Moonrise will dine with her aboard Wait for the Wheel. The strategic purpose is simple: turn an adversary into an ally, or at least learn what the adversary wants. Game on, she says. 16 Moonrise, whatever it is you want from me, come play. Over the comm, Two Foam's voice crackles. Yodelek, I have visual on Knife Point. 3 hours early. Coming in fast, coming in hot. 9 Hibiscus curses. She signals her cloud hook to patch her into the comm frequency. On my way. Don't fire on anything until we know we have to. Mahit walks Lsel with a sabotaged imago. Lsel Station is a sort of city, if you think of cities as animate machines. Mahit Dzmare walks through her home station, carrying a dangerous secret in her mind. She is the Lul ambassador, recently returned from Teixcalaan, returned early, returned damaged, and she is walking off the overthinking, walking off the panic that rises every time she remembers that her imago machine was sabotaged before she left. The imago is Lsel's heritage technology, a neural implant that carries the recorded memories and personality of a predecessor. Mahit carries Iskander Aghavan, the previous ambassador to Teixcalaan. Or rather, she carries 2 versions of him. The sabotage fused an older copy of Iskander's imago into her mind alongside the intended one, 2 Iskanders, an old one and a young one. They argue with each other inside her skull. They argue with her. The sabotage left neurological afterimages. When she hits an unintegrated memory, something one Iskander knows that the other doesn't, or something they disagree on, she feels fizzing sparkles in her smallest fingers. Sometimes it shades into pain, a neuropathic burn along the ulnar nerve. She has gotten used to it. Somewhat. Iskander murmurs in her mind as she walks. He is commenting on her silence. Since returning from Teixcalaan, she has not spoken of what happened there. Not to anyone on Lsel. She deflects every question. He finds this fascinating and irritating in equal measure. Shut up, she tells him, silently. He laughs. The laughter shimmers down her nerves and ends in pain. She stops at a kiosk she has never seen before. Someone is selling hand-bound paper books, actual paper, an absurd luxury on a space station, and among the offerings is a graphic novel. The cover shows 2 figures huddled in the shadow of a ruined caravanserai, snow falling around them. The title reads, The Perilous Frontier. It is a first contact story. She buys it without knowing why. Maybe because she needs to understand something about strangers and aliens and the chasm between what you are and what you meet. Maybe because she didn't know Lsel produced work like this subversive handmade paper-bound, and she has been too Teixcalaan obsessed to notice what her own people were making. She tucks the book into her jacket and heads to her dinner with Aknol Amnudbat, counselor for Heritage. Why? The Heritage counselor orders a neurological exam. The Heritage offices are in the middlemost ring of Lsel Station's administrative sector. The door is neatly signed with a nameplate reading a KNELAMNARDBAT COUNCILORFORHERITAGE. Mahit hesitates outside it. Heritage is in the business of propaganda. She thinks now adjusting educational materials to make children want certain aptitudes, certain careers. Shaping the future by shaping memory. She never thought that before Teixcalaan. She knocks. The Heritage counselor welcomes her with food, fish cakes and flatbread. The fish cakes remind Mahit forcibly of the poisoned pastries that a Teixcalaanli minister once offered Iskander. She eats anyway. She is hungry, and refusing food would be a declaration of war she is not ready to make. The conversation is polite. The counselor asks why she returned early from Teixcalaan. Mahit deflects. The counselor asks why she has not yet updated her imago with her experiences abroad, standard procedure for any returning ambassador. Mahit deflects again, claiming ignorance of the schedule. Then the blow lands. It's not a favor, Amnardbat says. It's an order, ambassador. You'll submit to a full memory copy and neurological suite before the week is out. We need to test for spread. Spread. The word hangs in the air. The Heritage counselor is saying, in the politest possible terms, that she suspects Iskander's prolonged absence in Teixcalaan may have contaminated Mahit. That the imago is a poison. that Mahit is a vector. Mahit realizes she has been a fool. She thought she could manipulate the counselor with allusion and narrative, the way you manipulate a Teixcalaan official. But the counselor is not Teixcalaan. The counselor has the power to order her into a neurological exam that will reveal she carries two versions of Iskanda Aghavan, two imagos. One of them 15 years out of date, proof of sabotage, proof that she is broken. Mahit has 6 days before the exam, 6 days before they carve the truth out of her skull. First blood, the alien attack. On wait for the wheel, Knife Point's ninth blooming comes in hot. 3 hours early, engines screaming, broadcasting a transmission that no one on the bridge can parse. It is not language. 30 Wax Seal, the scout ship's captain, reports through a comm channel thick with static. The alien sounds have no parsable phonemes. They shift in response to ship movements. They are communication of some kind, but they are not speech. 9 Hibiscus does not have time to process this before the alien ship appears. It materializes from visual cloak less than 1,000 kilometers off the fleet's flank. Commolation. 3 rotating hoops, a central mass, a design that makes no aerodynamic sense because it was never meant for atmosphere. It fires. The energy cannons are precise, surgical. One of her shards, the small, wedge-shaped fighter craft that serve as the fleet's forward strike, takes a hit and spins away, trailing atmosphere. 9 Hibiscus gives the order to return fire. The wait for the wheel's main cannon speak. The alien ship's hoops shatter, one ring cracking open like an egg. From the damaged ring, a dark viscous substance pours into vacuum. It does not disperse the way fluids should in space. It moves like a seeking liquid, coiling and uncoiling, held together by a surface tension that physics cannot explain. Get away from it. 5 Thistle calls on all channels, all ships, get away from it. One shard does not get away. The seeking liquid spit, 9 Hibiscus thinks, repulsed, its spit reaches out in thinning strings and catches the shard's hull. It clings, it spreads, it begins to eat through metal and plasteel. The pilot's scream comes over the open channel. It's in here with me. It's in here. Don't let it touch anyone else. Kill me. Kill me, please, kill me now. 9 Hibiscus has given many orders in her career. She has never given this one. The shard is already dead. The pilot is already dead. What she is ordering is only the speed of it. Fire, she says. The shard becomes a brief bright star. 8 Antidote learns the cartograph. In the tunnels beneath the Teixcalaan city, 8 Antidote navigates by memory. He is 11 years old. He is the clone of the former Emperor's 6th direction. He is the imperial heir, the successor designate of 19 Ads, who is emperor now and has promised to take care of him even if it kills her. But he is also a child who has discovered that there are tunnels under the palace, tunnels under the ministries, tunnels that let him move unseen through the roots of empire. He loves the tunnels. He loves that 11 Laurel Undersecretary of the Third Palm, a man who only answers to the Minister of War calls him Cure instead of Your Excellency or Imperial Associate. He loves that 11 Laurel teaches him to run a cartograph strategy table and shoot an energy pulse pistol. He knows distantly that this is probably dangerous, that 11 Laurel wants something from him. But the wanting feels like warmth, and warmth has been scarce since his ancestor, the Emperor, died. Tonight, 11 Laurel brings him to the cartograph room in the basement of the Ministry of War. On the table, a simulation gleams into life. The Quran uprising, 3 years ago, a rebel-held city, a fleet captain named 9 Hibiscus, a battle that should have been a bloodbath. Solve it, 11 Laurel says. 8 Antidote runs the simulation. He watches the troop movements, the defensive positions, the logistics. The obvious solution is a siege, starve the city, bomb it into submission, accept the civilian casualties as the price of victory. But something about the troop placements bothers him. There are too many soldiers inside the city, too many to be the occupying force. Unless nobody fired at all, 8 Antidote says. She put her soldiers in among the rebels before the battle started, infiltrated them, and then she told them not to shoot, and they didn't. And because they didn't, the rebels didn't know who was a rebel and who was fleet. And the city fell without a single shot. 11 Laurel's face does something complicated. That is exactly correct. Then he corrects the boy. 9 Hibiscus had no authorization from the Third Palm for that operation. Her soldiers obeyed her anyway. She won Karan not because the Ministry of War approved her tactics, but because her troops trusted her more than they trusted the chain of command. Aid Antidote absorbs this. He is learning that power does not always flow through official channels. Sometimes it flows through loyalty, sometimes through fear, sometimes through a fleet captain who decides she knows better than the ministry. Mahit faces the counselors and a dangerous offer. On Lsel Station, Mahit makes a decision. She will contact Teixcalaan Empire, counselor for the pilots. Iskander knew Anshu once trusted her, or at least maintained a working relationship. More importantly, the pilot's counselor sent warnings to the Lsel ambassador during the succession crisis in Teixcalaan, warnings about sabotage, warnings about heritage. Mahit needs to know what Anshu knows. Iskandra's voice guides her to a pilot's bar near the station's hangar bays. The bar is loud, full of people in pressure suits drinking vodka and arguing about fuel consumption rates. In the corner, a hawk-faced woman with a shaved head sits alone. Teixcalaan Empire. Mahit lets Iskander speak through her. It is a strange sensation, her mouth forming words she did not choose, her body language shifting to accommodate a different center of gravity. Iskander leads with the chest, Mahit leads with the shoulders. When Iskander takes over, she feels taller. Counselor Anshu, Mahit says, and Anshu's head comes up. For a moment, Anshu's expression flickers chagrin, or pleasure, or both. She had expected Iskandra. What she gets is the current ambassador, the one who came back broken. Ambassador Dzmare, the pilot's counselor, says, "You read my messages. I read them." Ah, then she did succeed. Anshu's voice is flat. "I wasn't sure." Darj Tarat sets down his glass. The miner's counselor has the kind of face that gives nothing away, gray-brown and still as stone. He has been sitting beside Anshu the whole time, and Mahit had not registered him. She had been too focused on the woman who might have answers. Now she sees him, and Iskander's memory supplies a name and a warning at the same moment. Tarat leans forward slightly. "Interesting that you came back," he says. "Interesting that you retain enough of your Imagaline, despite putative sabotage, to consult with it. Interesting that you spent the time since you returned doing absolutely nothing instead of informing someone about all of these intriguing facts." Mahit drinks vodka. Anshu's leftover vodka, actually she arrived late, snags the glass, downs it in one gulp. She inverts the glass on the table and looks Tarat in the eye. "I'm direct when forced," she says. "Someone sabotaged my Imago machine. I'd like to know who." Anshu recommends cutting Heritage's Imago line loose. Tarat nods as if this is a minor personnel matter. Then he makes his offer. He admits he used Iskander. He wanted Iskander back for control, not friendship. He wanted an ambassador who would do what Lsel needed. Iskand failed him. Mahit is failing him too. But she could be useful. He could strip her of her Imago machine, remove the damaged implant, install it into the brainstem of a new ambassador, someone more reliable. Mahit would be free. She could retake her aptitudes. She could go work on a mining station somewhere, live a quiet life, forget Teixcalaan ever happened. Freedom. The word is a trap, and Mahit knows it. Without Iskander, she would not know who she is. The integration is too deep. The sabotage made it deeper. Carve out the imago, and there might be nothing left of Mahit Dzmare but a woman-shaped hole. Iskander murmurs inside her. An idea. A dangerous, terrible, Iskander-shaped idea. "Offer me," he says. "Offer to go back to Teixcalaan with the envoy. Offer to spy for him. Be his eyes in the fleet. I know how to do this. I did it for 15 years. Mahit does not trust him. She does not trust Tarat. She does not trust anyone, but she is running out of time." She opens her mouth to speak. The proximity alarms go off. Every alarm on Lsel Station, howling at once. Alerts flash through the bar's comm panels. Something is coming through the animate gate. Something that should not be there. The moment shatters. Tarat and Anshu are on their feet, calling for reports. Mahit is forgotten for now, but she knows what she has to do. Three Seagrass assigns herself to the front. In the city, Three Seagrass sits at her desk in the information ministry and hates herself. She is grieving. 12 Azalea, her colleague and friend, died during the coup attempt 2 months ago. 12 Azalea, who sat across from her at the ministry cafeteria, who had opinions about Teixcalaan epic poetry, who once told her she was too good for the bureaucracy. Three Seagrass has been doing her job mechanically since the funeral, filing reports, approving requisitions, moving documents from one pile to another, but this morning, a Priority 19 message crosses her desk, a request from Yadalek 9, Hibiscus of the 10th Legion, currently engaged on an alien front. 9 Hibiscus needs a first contact specialist, someone who speaks languages, someone who can talk to the enemy. The request is addressed to the Information Ministry, specifically to the Office of the Undersecretary for External Communications. 3 Seagrass office. She reads the request twice, then she opens her personnel file, reclassifies herself as Envoy at Large to the 10th Legion, and assigns herself to the mission. Pay unchanged, clearances unchanged, assignment open-ended. She is volunteering for a war zone. She has never been in combat. She has never left Teixcalaan space for longer than a diplomatic conference. But 11 Lath, the hero she has admired since childhood, the author of Dispatches from the Numinous Frontier, 11 Lath, would have volunteered, and Mahit Dzmare kissed her once in a garden and then went home. And Three Seagrass has been wondering ever since if she could fix that. If she could fix any of it. She signs off on her own mission. She leaves an out-of-office message. She packs a bag, leaves dirty dishes in her sink, a sign. She thinks that she may not be planning to return and heads to the spaceport. The flower weave is a medical resupply skiff carrying fresh hearts for transplant. Three Seagrass bribes the captain with a large holographic number, convincing him to take her along as supernumerary cargo. She will squish between the crates. She does not care. Before she boards, a woman stops her at a spaceport bar. 5 Agate, the Emperor's personal agent. She has a question, she says, on behalf of her Brilliance 19 ads. What is Three Seagrass's opinion of Undersecretary 11 Laurel? Three Seagrass has never spoken to 11 Laurel in her life. She offers to swear a blood oath of innocence. 5 Agate declines the oath but accepts her verbal promise. Then she adds, almost kindly, be careful on the front lines. It's frustrating for the rest of us when the Emperor loses someone she likes. Three Seagrass boards the ship understanding 2 things. First, the Emperor is already tracking her movements. Second, someone in the Ministry of War, possibly 11 Laurel, is under suspicion, and Three Seagrass has just been tested for loyalty to that someone. Mahit strikes a spy's bargain. Mahit spends the next day forcing Iskander to show her things he does not want to show her. She is in her rented pod, lying on the narrow bed, arguing with a dead man inside her skull. Darj Terets. She needs to know what Iskander knows. Iskander resists. There are memories he has walled off, compartments he has sealed. But Mahit is the living one. She is the one with the body. She presses, and eventually a door opens. The memory is of a letter. Handwritten on paper, Terets was always theatrical. The letter said, to draw a monstrous thing to its death, one must first know what the monster desires. Teixcalaan desires to consume, to expand, to make the universe itself. We will give Teixcalaan something to consume that it cannot digest. We will use its own functions against it. We will draw it into a war it cannot win, cannot retreat from, and cannot survive. Iskander dropped a glass of blue gin when he read this. The shards scattered across his floor like fallen stars. What did you do? Mahit asks him. Nothing, Iskander says, and the word is hollow. I did nothing. I let him play me. I let him use me as bait. I let him draw Teixcalaan into war by dangling an ambassador they could not trust. I knew. I suspected. I did nothing. There's no such fucking thing as freedom, Iskander adds, and Mahit feels the weight of 15 years of exile in those words. 15 years of being a tool. 15 years of knowing that if war came, it would come partly because of him. Mahit realizes she has helped start this war. Unwittingly, unwillingly, but she carried Iskander's imago into the heart of Teixcalaan, and the imago made her a provocation, and the provocation made her a target. And now there are alien ships eating Teixcalaan planets, and somewhere Darj Terets is smiling. She goes to Terets' office the next day, alone, Iskander guiding her steps, Iskander's higher center of gravity pulling her forward. Terets is waiting. He expected her. Of course he did. Sit down, Dzmare. Let's have ourselves a discussion about what you plan to do with the envoy if it isn't consignment to the void. Go with her, of course, Mahit says. Yiskander has a blitheness to him, an inexorability which he learned from 19 ads, not headlong momentum but a calculating belief in his inevitable success. She borrows it now. You engineered a war to entrap Teixcalaan, counselor. Why wouldn't I want to watch? Why wouldn't I want to help? Terretz's eyes narrow. Mahit leans forward. You want Teixcalaan at war. Unable to win, unable to retreat. You want the monster to bleed itself dry, choking on something it cannot swallow. I can do that. I can array the politics of the fleet to ensure that Teixcalaan remains at war. I am the Lsel ambassador. I know how they think. I know who to talk to. I know where the fractures are. And what do you want in return? Get me off this station. The heritage counselor will have me arrested if I miss my neurological exam. Give me cover. Give me time. Let me be your spy. Tarat studies her. She can see him calculating the risks. A damaged ambassador, an unreliable imago, a woman who might betray him the moment she is out of his reach. But also an agent inside the Teixcalaan fleet. A pair of eyes at the heart of the war. Done, he says. Three Seagrass comes to Lsel for Mahit. Three Seagrass arrives on Lsel Station through the Animat Gate. She has traveled through multiple jump gates, crossed into barbarian space, bribed her way past cargo engineers, and spent the last of her ministry funds. She is broke. She is exhausted. She is wearing a ridiculous jumpsuit that makes her look like a wealthy importer instead of a Teixcalaan bureaucrat. The moment she steps off the ship, a stationer grabs her arm. An alarm sounds. More security arrives. She talks her way through it. She invokes her title. Special Envoy of the Teixcalaan Information Ministry, here on urgent business. Here to see Ambassador Mahit Dzmare. The stationers are suspicious. One of them speaks passable Teixcalaan and demands justification. Three Seagrass offers none. They bring her to Mahit. Mahit is flanked by Tarat and Onchu, the miner's counselor she recognizes from intelligence briefings, thin, gray, dangerous. The pilot's counselor is hawk-faced and hostile. Mahit herself looks exhausted, gray-white with stress, her hands trembling slightly at her sides. Three Seagrass steels herself. She has not seen Mahit since the kiss. She has not allowed herself to think about what that kiss meant. Now she has to stand in front of Lsel's political leadership and ask to borrow their ambassador for an alien first contact mission. Ambassador Dzmare, she says, I've come to request your assistance. Mahit's expression shifts surprise, anger, then something Three Seagrass cannot name. Chagrin, pleasure, some impossible mix of both. Three Seagrass feels her own chest tighten. The barbarian who kissed her in a garden, the woman she crossed the known universe to find. Standing here, alive and furious, and more beautiful than memory had any right to preserve. Onchu challenges her. Tarat's watches. Three Seagrass explains. The Teixcalaan fleet has encountered an alien enemy. The aliens are using sounds that are not language. The fleet needs a linguist. Mahit is the best linguist the Empire has ever encountered from a barbarian station. It takes negotiation. It takes the threat of imperial displeasure. It takes Three Seagrass admitting out loud that she came here of her own accord, not on the Emperor's orders, because she believed Mahit could help. Eventually, they reach an agreement. Mahit will go. Three Seagrass will make the request official and provide legal cover. Tarat and Anshu will not obstruct. Afterward, alone in a rented pod, Mahit and Three Seagrass sit facing each other. Three Seagrass calls her Reed for the first time, a nickname intimate and strange. She puts her hand on Mahit's elbow. She asks, silently, for permission. Mahit does not know how to answer. She wants to go. She needs to go, needs to escape the heritage counselor, needs to escape Lsel, needs to get Three Seagrass off the station before anyone realizes what's happening. But she is also a spy now, a saboteur. She has promised Terrets she will prolong this war. She says yes anyway. Confrontation at the hangar. The hangar bay is cold. Mahit walks toward the Teixcalaan shuttle with Three Seagrass at her side. They are almost to the ramp when a voice stops them. Ambassador Dzmare, Aknal Amnardbat, is standing at the hangar entrance. Her hand is clamped around Three Seagrass's arm. She must have intercepted the envoy on the way here, must have dragged her back by force. Three Seagrass looks furious and frightened. Going somewhere? The heritage counselor asks. Mahit's heart stops. Then Yiskandra's voice, cool and amused. Oh, I like her. I like her nerve. Counselor Amnurbat, Mahit says, I was not aware you had an interest in Teixcalaan diplomatic missions. I have an interest in stationers who missed their neurological exams. I have not missed it. It is not yet scheduled. Mahit pauses. I am the Lsel ambassador. The Teixcalaan Empire has requested my presence at an active war front. It is my duty to go. Duty. The counselor's voice is flat. And who decides what duty is? Ambassador, you, or heritage? There is a long, terrible silence. Three Seagrass is tense under the counselor's grip. Mahit can see her calculating, can see her readying herself to do something reckless. Then Amnurbat releases Three Seagrass's arm. She steps back. Her expression is unreadable. Go then, she says. Go play ambassador to your empire. Well, speak when you return. She does not say if you return. She does not need to. Mahit takes Three Seagrass's hand and pulls her toward the shuttle. They climb the ramp. The hatch seals behind them. As the shuttle lifts away from Lsel Station, Mahit looks out the viewport at the receding curve of her home. The Heritage Counselor is still standing in the hangar. Watching, waiting. Mahit has escaped, but she knows, with a cold certainty, that the Counselor is not finished with her. She will be there when Mahit returns, if she returns. Funeral for Paloa II and new arrivals. In the dark between stars, the alien we finds a pilot who died before his ship could be stripped. His hands still grip the controls, a pattern of pressure and release, an interesting skill. The we consumes the pattern and discards the rest, which is only meat. On Wait for the Wheel, after the battle, 9 Hibiscus holds a funeral ceremony for Paloa II. The dead colony floats in the back of everyone's mind. Satellites stripped of utility, cloud hook glass stolen, bodies eviscerated but not eaten. The aliens are not consuming humans for food. They are taking things apart to see how they work. 20 Cicada delivers the funeral oration. He calls the enemy parasites. The word comes naturally to him, shaped by his homeostat cult beliefs about balance and waste. 9 Hibiscus privately disagrees with the plague rhetoric. It will make her soldiers afraid to engage. They need to think of the enemy as an opponent they can fight, not a disease they can catch. But she holds her tongue. She participates in the bloodletting ritual, slicing her left thumb through the scar from Karan. Her blood drips into the sacrifice bowl. She thinks about the shard pilot she killed. She thinks about the corrosive spit. She thinks about 16 Moonrise, who is still coming to dinner, and who will ask questions 9 Hibiscus does not want to answer. The envoy is on her way, a linguist, someone who can talk to the aliens. 9 Hibiscus has decided to wait, to try diplomacy before she tries annihilation. She is not sure it will work. She is not sure anything will work, but she is the Yaotlek, and the weight is hers to carry. Mahit reads The Perilous Frontier. On the Jasmine Throat, the Teixcalaan supply ship that has agreed to carry them to the fleet, Mahit reads The Perilous Frontier. The graphic novel tells the story of Esherakar Lut, a heritage archivist who discovers documents that contradict Heritage's official versions. She tries to preserve them. She is hunted. Captain Cameron, a dashing stationer pilot, rescues her. In the climax, Esherakar burns the documents to keep them from Heritage's agents. But Cameron snatches one page from the fire, a page that contains an altered version of the Lsel record of origin. A secret version that Heritage has kept from the rest of the station. The message is clear. Heritage controls memory. Heritage decides what is true. And there are people on Lsel, young people, artists, rebels who are fighting back with paper and ink and stories about first contact. Mahit never knew these people existed. She was too busy studying Teixcalaan, too busy dreaming of the Empire, too busy becoming the perfect ambassador. Now she is leaving home with a comic book in her pocket and a spice bargain on her conscience, and she does not know if she will ever be able to go back. Iskander murmurs, "Good book." "Shut up," she tells him, but she is almost smiling. 8 Antidote passes another test. 8 Antidote has impressed the Minister of War with his war simulation strategy, and now he has been invited to return to the ministry. He knows 11 Laurel will find out. He knows 11 Laurel may not approve. But he goes anyway, because he is 11 years old and he has discovered that he is good at this, at strategy, at understanding how power flows, at seeing the patterns behind the battle. Minister 3 Azimuth shows him a simulation of the current war. She carries a melted ear from a real combat wound, and she manipulates the starscape with fluid dance-like hand gestures, deploying holographic ships as if conducting an orchestra. The 24th Legion destroyed, half the 10th Legion destroyed, alien weapons flickering in and out of jump gate-like movement. She asks him what he would do differently. Feed. He proposes a net strategy, a way to catch the enemy ships when they emerge from their jump gate hiding places. She critiques it, she praises him, she ruffles his hair and tells him to come back tomorrow. He leaves the Ministry of War with a strange, unsettled feeling in his chest. He has passed a test he did not know he was taking, and he does not know whose test it was. Toward the war. The shuttle carrying Mahit and Three Seagrass accelerates toward the jump gate. Behind them, Lsel Station dwindles to a point of light. Ahead of them, the war. Mahit sits in the co-pilot's seat. Three Seagrass is beside her, not touching, but close enough that Mahit can feel the warmth of her shoulder. Neither of them speaks. Mahit is thinking about Tarat's. About the promise she made. Array the politics of the fleet. Ensure that Teixcalaan remains at war. She is a spy now, a saboteur, and Three Seagrass who volunteered for this mission, who crossed the known universe to find her, who called her Reed in a rented pod. Three Seagrass has no idea. But Mahit is also thinking about the aliens, about the silence of Paloatu, about the corrosive spit that ate through a shard, about the fact that no one has ever communicated with this enemy, and she is supposedly the person who can figure out how. She does not know if she is a hero or a villain. She does not know if she is doing the right thing or the wrong thing. She only knows she is alive and moving, and the jump gate is opening before her like a mouth. On the bridge of Wait for the Wheel, 9 Hibiscus watches the fleet's tactical display. A new ship has just arrived at the edge of sensor range. Not an alien ship, a small Teixcalaan courier carrying priority orders from the Ministry of War. She signals 20 Cicada to receive the transmission. In the tunnels beneath the ministry, 8 antidote practices navigating by feel. He has memorized 17 routes now. 17 ways to move unseen through the heart of Empire. He wonders if 11 Laurel will be at their meeting place. He wonders if he should tell 19 ads what he has learned. He wonders, with a child's half-formed dread, if he is becoming someone he does not recognize. And in the dark between stars, the alien we watches the approach of new meat. New patterns, new minds to consume and understand. The war is just beginning, and the we is hungry. Prandub Episode 2, First Contact. Mahit Dzmare had dreamed of the Teixcalaan fleet since she was a child. Not a vague romantic dreaming, the kind of precise obsessive cataloging that takes over a stationer kid who has never seen a warship with her own eyes. She had memorized whole classifications. She had built paper models of Eternal-class flagships and painted the gray and gold insignia of a dozen legions onto their tiny flanks. She had imagined what it would feel like to stand on a real bridge, surrounded by the hum of jump gate drives and the quiet, terrifying competence of imperial soldiers. Now she was here, and the reality was a medical bay that smelled of formalin and something else, something organic and cloying and wrong. The alien lay on a steel table in front of her, dead, opened from throat to sternum, its gray-spotted skin pinned back with surgical clamps. The fleet medtech had done neat work. Mahit forced herself to look. 4-fingered hands, each digit capped with a claw that might have been keratin or might have been something harder. A long neck, flexible even in death, the vertebrae visible as ridges beneath the skin. Forward-facing eyes, filmed over now, but clearly the eyes of a predator. Round, furred ears that reminded her of the almost cats the soldiers brought back from Karan, soft and vulnerable and wildly incongruous with the carnivore teeth. 9 Hibiscus stood at the head of the table. The commander of 6 legions had her hands braced on the table's edge, her stripped-down gray coverall bearing the 10th Legion insignia on the shoulder. She was looking at Mahit with an expression that said, "Impress me, or get off my ship." That alien, Mahit said, and was surprised to hear her own voice come out steady, did not make those sounds from that throat. The commander's eyebrows rose. "Explain. The recording you have." Mahit had to pause. Even thinking about the recording made her stomach clench. The sound of it, a machine scream, a wet tearing noise, a frequency that seemed to bypass the ears and drill directly into the base of the skull. The sounds you recorded from the alien ship before the engagement. They cause physical nausea in human listeners. They have tonal structure, but they don't resolve into parsable phonemes. And she pointed at the alien's opened trachea. That's a mammalian larynx. It's not capable of producing those frequencies. Not alone, Three Seagrass stepped up beside her, close enough that Mahit could feel the warmth of her shoulder. They had not spoken about the argument. They had worked in the comms room, constructed the message, and then Three Seagrass had walked out, and Mahit had lain in her bunk arguing with Iskandra's voice in her skull, and now here they were, pretending to be professional. "I'm the spy," Three Seagrass said, with a particular brightness she used when she was performing. "The ambassador is our linguist. We're here to help prune." The corner of the room, where he had been standing so still Mahit had almost forgotten he was there. 20 cicada made a sound like a laugh being drowned. The adjutant, the commander's shadow, a slender man with green ink tattoos visible at his wrists when his sleeve rode up, was watching the two of them with an expression that Mahit could not read. 16 Moonrise was not laughing. The fleet captain of the 24th Legion stood opposite 9 Hibiscus, pale and sharp and radiating hostility like heat from a reactor core. She had been on the ship when Mahit and Three Seagrass arrived, and her presence felt wrong, a rival commander haunting another captain's flagship, watching everything with electrum-shaded eyes. "Split the trachea further," she said to the medtech, ignoring Mahit entirely. "I want to see the division." The medtech looked at 9 Hibiscus, who nodded. The scalpel moved. The tube of the trachea opened further, revealing the point where it began to branch into the lungs, and there, nestled in the fork, was something else. A bony structure, delicate and complex, surrounded by a deflated membrane connected to a series of muscles that Mahit did not recognize from any anatomy textbook she had ever read. "A syrinx," 16 Moonrise said. There was profound satisfaction in her voice. "Birds have them. Your spook and her pet are wrong. Yout like this alien can make all sorts of horrible noises with that thing." 9 Hibiscus reached into the alien's throat with her bare fingers. She stretched the membrane between her fingertips, and Mahit watched her face go still and focused. The membrane was thick, strong, elastic. It would vibrate. The muscles around it would control the tension, the pitch, the frequency. "It can make sounds," Mahit said. "That doesn't mean it made the sounds on the recording." "You're contradicting yourself, Ambassador." 16 Moonrise turned to face her fully for the first time. "First you say the larynx can't produce the sounds. Now I show you a syrinx that can, and you still insist the recording isn't natural." Mahit felt Iskandar's stir in the back of her mind. A flicker of old familiar anger, the particular fury of being talked down to by a Teixcalaan Empire who assumed barbarians were stupid. She pushed him down. "I'm saying the sounds on the recording produce a physical effect in human listeners," she said. "Nausea, disorientation. On the recording, the sounds are layered, played from multiple directions simultaneously. The syrinx is a physical organ. It produces sound in one direction, from one source. The recording was made from something else, something that knew what those frequencies would do to a human nervous system. Or..." 16 Moonrise's expression did not change. "Preserve the syrinx," 9 Hibiscus said, before the captain could respond. "I want it intact. The ambassador and the envoy can use it to try to reproduce the alien sounds. If we can talk to them in their own voice, maybe they'll stop screaming at us." She looked at Mahit. "You have what you need?" Mahit thought about the 11-second message she and Three Seagrass had already constructed. "Approach, danger, contact initiated, hurrah we win." Layered, repeated, broadcast into the void, with no certainty that it would mean anything. "We have a start," she said. "We need a live one." "Can't. A corpse can't tell us how the communication actually works. The communication," 16 Moonrise said, "has killed 36 of my soldiers in the past week. I don't care how it works. I care how to stop it. That's why we're here," Three Seagrass said. "To help you stop it. Unless you'd prefer to keep shooting at invisible ships and hoping for the best." The silence in the medical bay was absolute. 20 Cicada had stopped pretending not to watch. 9 Hibiscus had her head slightly tilted, like she was evaluating a new piece of ordnance. 16 Moonrise's pale face had gone even paler, 2 spots of color high on her cheekbones. "Find me a live one," 9 Hibiscus said, to no one in particular, "and we'll give the ambassador her interview."